Oh, hello. All right. Here to talk to you about the boss rushing strategy that I did. I ran a bosser for my league start this league. I did Explosive Trap of Shrapnel that I found from Fearless Dumbo, and I wanted to do a strategy that's centered around doing boss rush and just getting to the boss as fast as possible and stuff like that. So let me talk real quick about why I chose to do Shaper Guardians. I chose to do Shaper Guardians because I think all of their maps are super linear, which helps you kill all of the mobs on the way to the boss room, which is really important for the destructive play node. I chose to do Shaper over the Maven 10 boss version because there just weren't 10 maps that I liked that I was going to favorite, and I didn't go the Uber boss or the the not as Uber bosses, like just normal Shaper, etc., versus Uber Shaper, etc. I didn't do any of those because I just didn't feel like it. I don't feel super comfortable with the fights, and they feel slightly tedious. So I chose to do Shaper Guardians, and I chose Shaper Guardians over Elder Guardians and Conquerors because for Elders, I lose all my charges while I'm waiting for them to spawn. Like when you get to the boss, Elder does this little tentacle thingy where he like kills the boss, replaces them with like Purifier, Constrictor, etc. And that takes too long, and my charges all fall off, even with my Trickster ascendancy of keeping my Frenzy charges longer. And for the Conquerors, sometimes the maps you get are T14 and T15, which is problematic, I think, for bulk selling later, because your coffins are sometimes, excuse me, item level 81 or 82, which some people don't accept, so I foresaw that that might become a problem in selling stuff later. So I decided not to go the Conquer route. Although, I will preface, I think the Conquer route might be better long term, in the fact that you can still do the 10 boss Atlas thing in addition to the Conqueror thing. Sorry, invitation. So the basic strategy is just, kill all four guardians and do the formed. But I do a little bit different with mine than I think some other people do. So let me go to the Atlas tree first. So quick shout out though before we do the nodes. I just want to talk to you about Path of Pathing. I got this tool from looking at Surgog's videos, and it's really nice, actually, I think, personally. So if you see, I have a bunch of these green circles, and basically what it does, you click the green circles up, anything that has a green circle to, like the engine will automatically most efficiently map so that you get to the most amount of green circles and the least amount of points. And you can also use these, if you can see here, there's a little red X. It's because like the autopathing made me go through Harby for some reason, and so I clicked red X to make sure that it doesn't path through Harby. So you can determine where you want it to path, like what you want, what you don't want. That's all I'll say about it. This is what I use. I also do use the normal POE planner, but this one's really nice if I like don't want to do all the work myself. But into the actual nodes, I obviously take the top hat of the boss nodes, pretty much mandatory. I decided for my other league mechanic to go Essence. Since I'm playing Explosive Trap, it's really easy for me to load up a bunch of traps in front of the Essence mobs. In front of the, yeah, sorry, my friend just invited me. But in front of the Essence mobs, and then when you click them to open them, they just all insta-die or whatever. So I chose to do all the Essence things. I did not take Crystal Resonance because my build is, I don't think, strong enough to kill the Shaper Guardians with Essences on them. If you're strong enough, you can obviously do it. I then took all the Scarab nodes that were very efficient for me. So obviously the boss node, the less rare common varieties, or sorry, the less common varieties node, just 3 points out of the way there. I took, since it's on the way to the Crystal Lattice, I took Significant Troves, since unique monsters have 200% increased chance to drop Scarabs. You kill 4 bosses, probably on average 2 to 3, mostly, with Destructive Play adding 3 bosses, and then obviously you have a boss, naturally. And then I also took this Amplified Artifacts one, because I think, this I'm not sure about, but I thought, like, since I'm guaranteed, like, rares via the Essence modifiers, I was like, maybe the Essence mods count? I don't know. But either way I took it. I didn't have anywhere else to put the 3 points, so that's what I did. The next part is I took the Shrine and Nico nodes. I know this is common on beginner Atlas trees to like speed you through white maps, but I actually think it's really helpful for my boss rushing, not just because my character's weak, but because the map gets a lot harder with the next part of the strategy I'm going to talk about, and like the Shrines plus Nico speed really helps you zoom around the map. I'm only taking the one node for Pact of Energy, and then I'm also taking Mining Byproduct. I'm not adding any chance because I'm just adding with Scarabs. that's just the way I chose to do it because I wanted to use the tree to get more drops versus guaranteeing Nico. And then mining byproduct, I just thought sulfite would give me a little boost or whatever, and I had the points to spare. And then shrines, you just take all the shrine nodes. I did not take all that glitters, the covetous shrine one. I know it's 10 quant, but I was like the percentage chance of you getting a covetous right before the boss room is like I feel like kind of low, so I just went for not taking it. I'd much rather have the divine shrine or the acceleration shrine anyways. The next part is the part that makes the maps really hard, but also potentially a lot more rewarding. I take all the map modifier effect nodes for 3% increased explicit modifiers, or like 2, I think, for the normal nodes. Yeah, 2% for the normal nodes. So this is, I'm not sure how valid it is, or if it's like the correct way to do it, but my understanding is that the explicit modifiers make all the maps harder, and in exchange for the increased explicit modifier, increase, it'll give you more quant. At least that's how I, understand. And so, because of that, like I take all of them because I just want maximum quantity on my maps. I treated basically all of these nodes as like percent quantity increases and just took all of them. So you can see I took the Chiseled Perfection for explicit modifiers, perk map quality. Took these nodes right here for 3% increased effect. I took the mounting modifiers, and then I took just all the small nodes I could in the top part of the diamond hat. I will say, one warning for this is that sometimes the maps will get really, really hard. So for example, one mod that I can't do anymore that I used to be able to do is actually spell suppress. So the mod on the map rolls up to like 70% spell suppress or something, but with the explicit modifier increase, it goes to 100% suppression. It means all your spells are always suppressed. And I think suppression does 50% damage reduction. I think I googled it. So all your damage, all your abilities do 50% less damage. Like it just feels really awful to run the map, especially if you have tanky mods or whatever. So that just like in triple, even like double, triple, quadrupled my map runtime, which I was not okay with. So like I have to skip spell suppress now, and some builds that can't do no regen will probably have to take like dodge the 70% less life regen mod, because that one also becomes like 100%. So like in maps, I don't regen health at all, even with like the regen war cry or whatever. Um, so warning there. The Scarab setup that I have is for just 100% map conversions. So when I like was planning the strategy out, my thought process was that the most amount of profit you could generate was via the maps that you drop, because I think they're pretty expensive. The Conqueror map is 25C, Elder maps are 20, Shaper maps are 15C, Twisted maps are like, or not Twisted, the Synthesis maps are like 10C. So if you get to drop a lot of them, like that's a lot of chaos per drop. Like even one Conqueror drop in a map, that's just 25C right there, right? I think they might sell a little bit less in singles, but I'm pretty sure that's the bulk price. So that's why I went mostly for map stuff. So I did Cartography Scarab to increase the map drop, Conversion to convert all my map drops to Shaper, Elder, Conqueror, Unique, or at least as many as I could. I did the Duplication one so that if I drop any, excuse me, of the good maps, they'll get duped. If I drop T17s, they get duped too, potentially. And then the Sulfide Scarab is just to get Nico. If you're real strong enough, so you don't want Nico or the Shrine Sub to zoom, you can add other mechanics, and you can obviously trade out the Sulfite Scarab. And then I also bought a bunch of Remnants, so I can, for the Essence mobs, I can corrupt the meds. I think they're Misery, Envy, Dread, and Scorn, or whatever, to get them into the Horror, Insanity, whatever it was, that are worth like 20C-ish. So that's the setup that I have. For the map device, I generally ran 8% quant because if it hasn't already been made clear, I only care about the quantity for the boss drops. I actually don't care about packs at all. The only thing I care about is killing the packs as quickly as possible so that destructive play um, can be triggered. So how it works is that they changed it so that now you care about how many monsters are in the map. It only summons more bosses, or it summons more bosses the less monsters remaining in the map. So I try to add and this is the reason why I added the map modifier nodes, is because I wanted to increase the amount of quant without increasing the amount of pack size. I don't want to be killing monsters or whatever. So that's the main reason I did that. So that's why we go for 8% increased quant, but you can also probably go for the essence one. It's 3C. I think if you get 3 essence, shriekings are probably 1C each, so you're already getting your money back just by killing 3 essence mobs, but I just wasn't a fan, so I didn't go that way. For the actual execution of the setup, so like the step-by-step process is that I open the map, I look at the lantern. For the lantern, the only thing I care about is the chaos, unmaking, divination, and seer mods. I never saw a div or a seer run, by the way, in all 120 maps, but I did see a few. I think I saw like 4 or 5 chaos, and I saw at least 10 unmakings. And unmakings are like 1.5C, which is strange because there's 3 trees now. But anytime I saw chaos and unmaking, I put it on the top. If it had the increased quant or increased pack size modifier, I would then make it frogs or rats or something. And then everything else I put on the bottom. All the yellow ones that give rewards I put on the bottom, just because like I don't think they'll give me anything worth, so I'm just fishing for bodies at that point. The only exception, this is only for the challenge people out there. Anytime I saw a T6 mod and there was a increased mod effect mob, I would move the T6 there to make it T7 just to get challenge progress for stuff because I'm like a 40-40 enjoyer. But that's the only exception. And then after that, you just zoom 4 maps in a row. And then for all the explosive trap people, I also did Shaper because it's really easy to preload the bosses with traps. So like all of them, you can just go down into the right until you see the boss's like feet or their weapon. Like for Hydra, like I just like kind of edged a little bit until I saw his bow, and then I just like loaded them up with traps, and it should hit most of the time, and you should one tap them. Except Chimera, obviously, because he has phases. Um, then after you do all 4 of them, you just Alch go the formed challenge. I almost never looked at the mods. The exception to the explicit map modifier thing is the QYKYK mission, because even though it opens via your map device or whatever, or like the actual thing opens on the map device, it's not activated via the map device, so it doesn't get affected by, I think, your Atlas tree. So QYKYK stuff, whatever you could run before, you can run now, even with all the explicit modifier increases. The only exception to All Can Go is I actually did message and trade 820 and TFT in the challenges tab. I'd be like, want to sell 70% challenge for 60C, which actually did get a lot of people on the line, because I looked in the Discord and a lot of people are selling it for 1 div, which I think is kind of a scam. I sell it for 60C, which massively undercuts everyone else in that channel. So anybody who's control effing formed or whatever will look through and see that I'm selling for 60C, and my message is really short. Most people have like a bunch of stuff they're running. Mine just says want to sell formed every 15 to 20 minutes, 60C. So they come to me. And if I ever get a message to do the form, then I will not Alch go it. I'll actually chaos spam it to get above 70. Profitable most of the time. It only takes you 5 to 10C probably to get above 70. Although I did get trolled once and I had to roll 30C, which that was a feels bad moment for sure. Yeah, so we can look at the profit now. So my profit is here, all the coffins. We can look at the like bulk trade tool later. Didn't drop any uniques that were really good. 2 trash venters, carcass that's like 3C, and a covenant which is like 40. Maybe dropped one forbidden tome, and then nothing else that was like not. Oh, and one stack deck. For the all flames, I dropped teams 8 here. There's 7 of the syndicate researcher ones, which are worth like probably 50C, I think, and then 2 of the anarchy ones, which are like 200C and going up. For my currency, raw currency, you can see I dropped in kindling and stilling. They're still not off my filter yet. All these shenanigans, a lot of unmakings. Like I said, I got a lot of those and I put them up whenever I saw them. Chaos, I think 50 of this is probably from like frogs, from like changing it to the 3% chaos thing. And then another 50 is from raw drops. Most of it actually, I want to say, came from the formed carries that I was talking about. And then I had 1 raw div drop, which was nice. And then I got a few conflicts from the form challenges. The maps, here's where the majority of my currency came from. I have some 14 and 15s. I don't know how this is possible, because my understanding was that when you have the 4 void stones, you can't drop anything lower than a T16. This still happened. One caveat here, one thing you can change to do better from me is that you can make all your favorite map slots, like meta maps that people are running, that you can sell in bulk for higher. So like Jungle Valley, Dunes, whatever people are running. I have mine set to the 10 maps that I was doing beforehand when I was doing 10 boss Maven stuff. So that's not, optimized. I dropped a few of the T17 ones. It seems like for 9 and 120 maps. Seems kind of low to me, but maybe that's the normal drop rate. One of these is duped too, so I really only dropped 8. Then a bunch of the synthesis maps and a bunch of the Elder Guardian Conqueror maps. I dropped only 3 of the Awakened Gems. The Fire Pen ones are like, what, like 30? I think the Burning Damage is like 70. Little sad, whatever. The Essences, didn't upgrade any of them, so all of them are as you see here. Didn't get too many upgrades. I dropped 1 Remnant, by the way, and like the of course, the 120 maps, which is also crazy. So many things I only dropped a 1 of in 120 maps, and probably a lot more I didn't drop even a single one of, obviously, but got a few of the upgraded ones from meds, and that's my tab. Didn't drop any good div cards. All of these are like trash, kind of like currency cards. So nothing to say there. And then fragments, you have the 30 fragments from my 120 maps, so 30 sets, so 30 guaranteed sets here. So I have a little bit more because I think the Maven will drop you some, and then over the course of farming all the formed, I got a bunch of Maven's Writs, which will be nice to sell. Scarabs, got a bunch. Didn't drop any. Yeah, your eyes probably came immediately here to look for the div scarab. Did not drop that. But there's still a decent amount of scarab stuff to be made here. Didn't drop any breach, didn't drop any eldritch. And then I got like a deli here and there, so I dropped some more. So none of this is anything important to note. So we can look at the what's it called? Look at the profit breakdown. So the okay, somehow my stash generated 1 div without me doing anything. But the profit breakdown was 68 divs, and you can see from the percentages that fragments were a bunch of the money making. Like 1/3 of it was just the fragments you got from the Shaper map. So it seems like you can make a decent amount of your money back from buying Shaper maps just by doing them and reselling the fragments or whatever. 11% was from the Scarabs, and then these 2 are almost inconsequential, drop in the bucket. Essences were 5%, which seems really trash. Maybe I should have been upgrading more maps or more essences with remnants, but I just didn't seem worth it to me because it's only like a 1/4 chance, I think, right? So I don't know. You can see here, maps, like I said, like I predicted, were going to be a major chunk of my currency. These are all the synthesis maps, so you can just add them in here. So it's 5 plus 17 equals 22. So 1/5 of my currency was just generated from the just the maps themselves. So if you look at it, half of my currency was from the fragments that are guaranteed just by running the map themselves and from the formed, and then the other part of that half is like the map drops that you get. The 16%, I assume 5% is like raw drops. The Orb of Conflicts are probably like another 5%-ish, and I want to say at least another 5% comes from the challenge running. Like selling the formed, I think gives you a decent amount of currency there. But yeah, let's see. But this doesn't capture my coffins and stuff, so I'm gonna go look at that real quick. So the All Flames, I don't know why TFT book selling has this at 40 and 4. They're obviously way more. If you look at POE.Ninja, you can see that the Anarchy ones are 230 now, actually, and then these are still 50. So a decent chunk of currency there. And then if I go take this out, put in my dump tab, put in coffin, select, you can see there's another 8, excuse me, 8 divs just from the coffins. I'm not going to evaluate it at 8 divs because I think that I'm going to sell it for half or 50% or much less. So I would say like 4 divs here, maybe another 5 divs for the coffins. So you can see that my profit is around probably at 79. You can probably even round down to 75. That's why I said in my Reddit post, I think, was 75 divs total. And like I said, the huge chunk of that is, I think, from the maps, which is why I did the strategy that I did. See, I think the per hour breakdown, I did the math like on my Reddit post, but it was like I think 5 divs per hour or something. So it seems decently okay to me. I'm not really in touch with the meta super well, so I don't know if 5 divs per hour is super great or super bad, but I kind of liked it and I was okay with it. Here, my friend question. Okay, so let's see, I guess. Well, now that's the entire strat basically, so I have nothing else to say. But what I would maybe change for the last part is I would take out essences. Like I said, or like I saw earlier, and you all saw, like the essences are only 5% of my profit, which I think is really low, given that I have to spend so many Atlas points on it. So I was going to take out essences, and actually what I was going to do is maybe just go fully into scarabs, actually, because scarabs were like 10% by profit. So I was going to just maybe take out all the essence nodes and just go fully into the increased scarab chance here. Or I could take all the Nico nodes, and then I could put in another scarab. But I don't know what scarab I would do. And then the other thing is that if your build can't handle the explicits, you can just take them out. And then if more research comes out, more people say like these explicit modifier nodes aren't worth it, I will also probably just eventually take out the explicit map modifier nodes. And then if your build is really strong, or if my build gets really strong at some point, I will take out the Nico and Shrine nodes. Because if I can zoom already, then there's no point in taking the Sulfite and Shrines. One last thing, just a real quick thing for Explosive Trap players. So don't take the minion Shrine. If you see it and it's the skull head, don't take it. I find that the minions block your Explosive Trap from being thrown, especially if all your minions are surrounding like a boss type monster. Your traps don't trigger for some reason. At least that's what I feel like has been happening, and it's just so slow and it's so annoying. So I never take the Shrine if it's the Necromancer minion summon Shrine. Anyways, that's my strategy. That's how I've been generating my currency and playing PoE for the past few days. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, leave them with comments. I'll try to answer all of them. Thanks for tuning in.